Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something quite surprising.
Yeah.
The link between flooding, from big storms, heavy rain, and our lung health.
Right. It's not the first thing people usually think about with floods.
Exactly. And folks want the important info fast, so let's just dive right in.
Okay, so we've got some SOCUS material here that really outlines this connection.
And our mission really is to unpack how flooding actually affects our lungs.
And crucially, what practical things you can actually do about it to stay healthy.
For sure. If you live anywhere prone to flooding, or honestly, even if you don't, just being prepared, this is information you'll want to know.
Definitely relevant.
Okay, let's break it down. The info points to two main ways flooding harms our lungs. First up, it's about toxic stuff getting into the air.
hmm
What are we actually talking about here? What kind of toxins?
Well, yeah, floodwaters aren't just water, right?
Yeah.
They often pick up a really dangerous mix of things.
Like what?
Think industrial chemicals, maybe solvents, petroleum stuff that's leaked. Then there's agricultural runoff, pesticides, fertilizers.
Yeah.
Sewage is a big one too. And even materials from buildings that got damaged. Insulation, treated wood, things like that.
Okay, so a real chemical soup.
Pretty much. And the problem is when that water eventually dries out,
Ah, I see where this is going.
right, those pollutants don't just disappear. They can become part of the dust, become airborne.
And then you breathe them in.
Exactly. Directly irritating your lungs,
Mhm.
causing inflammation, maybe triggering asthma or other issues.
So all that gunk in the water becomes dust that messes with your lungs. Yeah, that's quite alarming.
It is.
And the second main way. The info mentions mold growth. We all know mold isn't great, but how does flooding make it so much worse?
It's all about the dampness that's left behind. That's the key.
Okay.
Floods absolutely soak homes, buildings,
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
And this creates the perfect breeding ground for mold.
On pretty much anything, right? Walls, furniture.
Oh, yeah. Drywall, wood, carpets, upholstery. Mold isn't picky if it's damp. And as it grows, it releases spores into the air.
Which you then breathe in. Again.
Right. Inhaling mold spores can cause a whole range of respiratory problems. Coughing, wheezing, throat irritation.
Especially bad for people who already have asthma or allergies, I imagine.
Definitely. It can really worsen existing conditions. And some types of mold that really flourish after floods can be particularly nasty, producing mycotoxins.
Okay, so toxic dust and then mold spores. A real double whammy for the lungs.
That's a good way to put it.
So, knowing these dangers, the information logically moves on to what we can do. Prevention and action. It talks about preventing flooding where possible. Now, we can't stop a hurricane, but what preventative steps are actually practical?
Well, on a community level, it's things like better drainage systems, maintaining levees or flood walls, infrastructure stuff.
Right, the bigger picture.
But individually, there are things too. Making sure your property, your yard, slopes away from your house foundation helps water flow away.
Simple things, like keeping gutters clear.
Absolutely. Seems small, but clogged gutters can cause water to pool near the foundation or spill over into walls. So yeah, even those small actions can reduce the risk of water actually getting into your home.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But okay, what if flooding does happen? The info really stresses acting fast to cut down those health risks. What are the vital steps then, specifically for lung health?
Speed is really, really critical here. As soon as it's safe to go back into your home.
Assuming you had to leave, yeah.
Right. Ventilate the place thoroughly. Open up windows. Open doors. Get the air moving to help things start drying out. That's step one.
Okay, ventilation. Got it.
Then you need to quickly remove anything that got wet and can't be properly cleaned and dried. We're talking within like 24 to 48 hours if possible.
Why so fast?
To prevent significant mold growth from starting. Once it gets established, it's much harder to deal with. So waterlogged carpets, drywall, furniture, if you can't salvage it quickly and dry completely, it might need to go.
That sounds tough, but necessary for health.
It is. Using fans, dehumidifiers, those will help speed up the drying process too. And very importantly, during the actual cleanup,
Let me guess. Wear a mask.
definitely. Wear a good mask,
Yeah.
ideally an N95 respirator. That helps minimize breathing in those contaminants we talked about, the dust, and also the mold spores that might already be present.
Okay, so act fast, ventilate, remove wet stuff quickly, use fans and dehumidifiers, and wear an N95 mask during cleanup. These are concrete actions.
Exactly. And the information really underscores that taking these steps isn't just about fixing the water damage you can see.
It's about protecting your family's health from the invisible threats in the air afterward.
Precisely. Understanding these specific lung health risks empowers you to, make better choices and take those proactive steps,
Mm.
the danger from flooding really goes beyond just the immediate water.
Right. So let's quickly recap the main takeaways. Flooding poses a dual threat to lung health. One, through those toxic contaminants that become airborne dust, and two, through the dampness leading to harmful mold growth. And we also touched on how vital prevention is, where possible, but also how crucial swift action is after a flood to mitigate those risks. Ventilation, removing wet materials, protective gear.
hmm And that really leads to a key thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Think about the specific flood risks right where you live. Is it coastal flooding,
Yeah.
river flooding, or maybe just heavy rain, overwhelming local drainage?
Yeah, it varies a lot.
So knowing your specific risk, what concrete steps could you start thinking about, maybe even start doing today, to proactively protect your and your family's lung health even before the next storm hits?
That's a really practical and important question to ponder. Definitely gives us something to think about. Thanks for breaking this down for us.
Glad